This is the Unstarving Musicians Podcast. The podcast features conversations with musicians and music industry professionals, all intended to help musicians be better at marketing, business, the creative process, and all the other things that empower us to do more of what we love, make music. Hey, it's your host, Robonzo. Thank you for tuning in. If you are an indie music artist or fan, you're in the right place. Whoever you are, I appreciate you. As a gigging musician and fan of live music, I'm committed to sharing my personal experience, including everything I'm learning from other artists and music industry professionals on this podcast. If you'd like to be privy to all of my learnings, pop over to unstarvingmusician.com and join the community. You'll get an email from me, usually weekly, with tips, insights, and secrets intended to make your music journey a little better and brighter. I'll never send you anything spammy, and you can unsubscribe at any time. Right. Crystal and Pete Damore are a duo that go by the name Ordinary Elephant. They are yet another recommendation given to me by that sweetheart of a guy, singer-songwriter Tom Meany. When I looked them up, I was immediately drawn to their unique sound and look. You can check them out at ordinaryelephant.net. You'll see and hear what I'm talking about. They are nomadic in lifestyle these days, having sold the farm, so to speak, and have taken to a life on the road, performing, writing, and recording full-time. Like all of my guests, they are very giving of themselves and sharing their experiences and lessons. In this case, we talk about growing their Spotify listener audience, making life and music on the road work, their love for songwriting camps, and something called object writing, a daily 10-minute practice of writing to a particular object in a sensory stream of consciousness fashion. Whew. As always, links to most all this will be in the show notes for the episode for the curious among you. These two are nothing short of lovely people. Here is my conversation with those lovely people, Crystal and Pete Damore of Ordinary Elephant. Crystal and Pete, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
I take it you two have been busy as of late. It took us a little while to get together, but appreciate your time a lot.
Yeah. Traveling quite a bit and playing and yeah.
I noticed. So first things first, tell me how you know Tom Meany. He's been so kind at introducing me or recommending people for the podcast, and he was recently on himself. So how do you know him?
Oh, cool. Yeah, we met him at a little Folk Alliance conference in Austin, right?
I know we met him in Austin because that's where he lives, and Pete grew up in Austin, and so we spend a decent amount of time there.
No, I think it was the Southwest Regional Folk Alliance, because I remember him watching one of our showcases, and we knew who he was because he had won the Kerrville New Folk competition a couple years prior, and afterwards he came up and introduced himself, and that was one of the first people like that really shared their interest in our music and really gave us a little bit of confidence in what we were doing, I think.
Yeah, as another artist, just having someone that what we knew of him made us, we respected him as a songwriter and musician, and it was really great to be playing in that showcase room and see him kind of like closing his eyes and listening, and really you could tell he was connecting with our stuff, and that he took the time to reach out to us after was great. He's an awesome guy.
Yeah, he is such a nice guy, and that's a cool story. How long ago was that?
A few years ago, I guess.
That was probably 2016.
Yeah,
I think.
So.
Yeah, like
time flies.
It does, yeah.
Tell me a little story, if you can, about when you two met.
We met in 2009 at an open mic in College Station, Bryan, Texas. It was a songwriter-only open mic kind of, or original music open mic. So it couldn't go and play a bunch of covers. You had to write your own original stuff to perform there. We both went separately. He went with his roommate at the time. They had a little duo. And I just went by myself. And we met there, became friends, started hanging out. And one thing led to another.
You started co-writing together fairly soon after, is that right?
Well, I don't know about...
Maybe like once I got the banjo is when we really...
was that 10 or 11?
11. That's when we collaborated a lot more. I remember the first song we wrote. You remember that at your kitchen table? That was probably 2010 though.
Yeah.
Were you predominantly playing 6-string acoustic before the banjo?
Yes. I started playing that in like 6th grade, and then up until 2011. When I got the banjo, I did not play it nearly as much, and now I barely play it at all.
The guitar.
The guitar.
Yeah. In listening to your music and just sort of looking at you two online, the banjo is very prominently attached to you, it appears.
Yeah, it's relatively recent, I guess. It's not like you've been playing it your whole life, but it feels, at least to me, and I think most people that see us perform and hearing their comments to him, it feels as if it's the instrument that was meant for him. It just works. So I'm really glad he found it, because he's able to voice a lot of things through that instrument.
Sounds like it brought you together musically too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
It fit really well with what I was doing at the time, the songwriting I was doing at the time. The two guitars, like, okay, this kind of works, but not really. And then once he started adding banjo to it, it just made more sense.
Yeah, as a duo, I could see that it just would make the world a difference for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, were either of you going to school by chance at A&M, or just happened to be in College Station playing music?
Yeah, I did. I graduated from A&M in 2008. I was working full-time there afterwards, and when we met.
Yeah, and I had done school somewhere else and was doing some further training there at A&M, and that's how we were both in that area.
Cool. I take it, or I read anyway, that these days, or for a while, and I'm curious to know if it's still kind of the status, it looks like it is, but that you consider yourself nomads with living on the road with your dogs and playing a lot of music in a lot of different places. Is that still going on?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we, and actually that whole lifestyle change happened independently of music. In probably late 2013, we discovered that people actually lived in RVs and traveled full time. And once that got in our head, we really couldn't let it go. And in 2014, we slowly made the transition to selling our house and getting rid of everything that wouldn't fit, and took off and have been living in an RV since then, 2014.
That's cool. I don't know if you knew this. It's probably not too hard to find out, but my wife and I sort of sold the farm, so to speak, in almost 2 years ago now, and moved from San Jose, California to Panama in Central America. So we're kind of like you guys.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
We brought a cat and shipped a drum set and some housewares.
Wow.
Oh, and I can tell you the salt air is putting a beating on my drum kit.
Oh, man.
So
very interesting.
That's cool. I also have a younger brother, recently married, and he and his wife bought a large land yacht, and they are threatening to hit the road. They're not musicians, but they're threatening to hit the road full time in the future too. So,
well, they should, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like we weren't doing music at the time, but we weren't doing music full time then. And as we started doing it more, we were able to do it more, changing lifestyles that way. We became aware that that's what we feel we were meant to do. And so we've transitioned to doing that full time.
Since about 2014, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell me, for you two, what were the biggest challenges or surprises with the change in lifestyle? Assuming that you're all like, everything's kind of cool now, you're flowing with it, you're loving it. What were the biggest things that got you at first?
I think on the positive side, I didn't really realize that we would, or a surprise was how much we fell in love with certain places that you would never know to go on vacation to. If we were
right, if you had 2 weeks off, you would never go to this little spot that we would just happen upon and fell in love with, and like, oh, this is a great place. And it was just a neat way to discover places, basically.
Off the beaten path.
Yeah.
Wow.
We just didn't really think about it that way. I mean, that was part of it, that so you could see things, but I guess we didn't think about how true that was.
Are these oftentimes just places you find between the places that you're actually headed to?
Yeah, I guess. Kind of just on there.
Yeah. Or we book a show somewhere that someone told us was a good venue or whatever. Sometimes we have, very, very seldom, but sometimes we have time to just wander. Especially when we first started out, we would wander around and just see what we ran into.
Cool. And for anyone who hasn't figured it out, and I'm assuming I'm going down an accurate path here, but the folk scene and the folk festival scene that you two are involved in, I assume has been a big part of your kind of networking and learning about gig opportunities like you just described. Are there other parts of the community, I guess, that help you, be it with, finding venues or other opportunities that are related to your playing full time now?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there are kind of three. So the folk world, Folk Alliance is like we said, where we met Tom at one of those conferences. It's an organization. There's a yearly international meeting held somewhere, and then there are different regional ones, these conferences where there's music showcase. So basically where musicians and venues and industry people all come together to try to network. That's kind of what you're alluding to and what has been a huge help for us in meeting people. Another thing where I guess we don't do it as much anymore, but when we first started traveling was just hitting every open mic that we could in areas that we had never been to, that we didn't have a show booked, just try to find open mics. And we've met a lot of cool people that way and just made neat contacts that have come around to be fruitful. And then looking at other people's schedules. So other artists that we feel we're kind of in the same vein as, or around the same level as, to slightly below. People kind of as a goal of, okay, they're playing these places, I would like to play there. And just to get an idea of the sorts of places you want to be, and researching those and trying to make those goals has been helpful.
And you look like you do a lot, or have done a lot, of the showcase performances. I know that a lot of that, I would have to imagine a lot of that is just by the uniqueness of what you do as Ordinary Elephant and your talent, of course. Are there other things that maybe lesser known reasons why you've had those opportunities or created those for yourself?
The Folk Alliance showcases, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't know, because you apply for them.
Okay.
You register for the conference and you apply for an official showcase, because that's the best way to get seen by as many people. It's a kind of a set aside time for those. And so you want those and you apply for them and then you get selected. And so I don't know if
I think
part of what.
Yeah, there's some kind of grading process that all the different regions have, and even the big one in Kansas City, it's in Montreal this year, but they all have I'm sure it's slightly different grading processes, and I can't imagine that having gone previously wouldn't help a little bit, just because they'll know probably more who you are and what you sound like. Yeah. And like the one in Austin, we've gone to 5 years in a row, and this year, and 2017 was the year that we got a bunch of these.
The official
before that, we hadn't really had official showcases. So,
and I think they look at obviously your music, but also just what you're doing as an artist. Like, or do you seem like you're working hard and you're trying to get out there and you seem committed to it? I think that goes into it as well. I mean, at least the people who they choose, it seems that they're artists that are really trying to do it.
Yeah.
And I get the impression that goes into
how
that
professional
selection.
Your website looks and
yeah,
all sorts of things. I mean, they don't really publish their criteria, but I can only imagine that all plays into it.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, thanks for that. I asked the question not knowing a lot about how it works. So it sounds like the big thing is to apply, be seen, be heard, get to the conferences. So that's good to know. And I asked for, like I said, some artists who hadn't figured it out yet, but you were going to add something?
Oh, I just said showing up. I mean, that's kind of our motto, is just showing up everywhere you can when you can.
Yeah, just put your pants on and show up, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's an important step to not forget before showing up.
So your latest release, Before I Go, came out in 2017, and then you had, prior to that, Dusty Words in Cardboard Boxes. Love that title, by the way. It's kind of cool. In 2013. Can you talk a little bit about the differences in terms of where you were at, I guess, musically and inspirationally?
Yeah, for the first one, actually, a lot of those were Crystal's solo songs. I think. Maybe half. I don't know. I'd have to look.
Yeah, and actually a lot of them so the open mic that we met at, there was a Pete's roommate at the time kind of started a songwriting challenge. So every open mic happened every week, but there was a bi-week, every 2 weeks you would try to write the song based on this challenge, some prompt that they gave or chord progression or whatever it was. And a lot of those songs came out of that.
Yeah.
Those exercises, those prompts. Actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and we were both working full time, and we were like playing shows maybe once a month. I don't know.
Living in Houston.
People started asking if we had CDs, and we were like, oh, I guess we should make one. And we spent about 6 months on weekends going to this awesome producer and engineer named Jack Saunders. He has a little home studio in Houston, and
called White Cat.
Yeah, White Cat. And he played upright on it. He plays a bunch of instruments in general, but we wanted it pretty acoustic. And then he had a contact with an awesome fiddle player out at Austin named Eleanor Whitmore. And she added her fiddle to, I think, 3 of those tunes. And we just kind of put that together. It seemed like what we needed to do.
Yeah, we had enough stuff that we were playing out that we felt it was something that we could send home with people.
Yeah.
Demand was there.
Yeah.
And what was Jack's last name?
Saunders.
And his Houston-based studio, right? White Cat Studio?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. That was the first one, yes?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then moving on to Before I Go, what was the, I guess, progression? And it sounds like it's more of a maybe current collaboration between the two of you, a little more so than the first one?
Yeah, those were more, once we started writing together and more
collaboratively.
Yeah. I guess I feel like our writing style changed, or not style, but just the trajectory of our writing, finding our writing voice, I guess. It was kind of settling into that a little bit more and trying to figure out who we wanted to record with and where, and there's a producer in Santa Fe, New Mexico named John O. Manson, who had produced some albums from other musicians we know, a guy named Jamie Michaels and a guy named Daniel Bowling. And we liked his production on both of those. And so we got in touch with him to see if it would be a good fit, because we love New Mexico. That was one of our absolute favorite places. So it seemed like a good fit location-wise, and then we met with him, and it seemed like a good fit as someone to work with. And we ended up going with him and really enjoyed working with him and his work ethic and just personality, felt like it fit well.
Oh, he's so fun. And then we brought in a bigger cast for that record. Jason Crosby on fiddle and piano, and Sharon Gilchrist on mandolin, who's one of the big mandolin players in the bluegrass world, and then John Gagan on upright bass.
Yes, I hear nice things about New Mexico. I was looking at some parks out there because I have a friend who lives there these days, another musician, and I thought maybe I can find an excuse to go see him. I don't really need one, but you two appear to be doing pretty well on Spotify, and as I say that, I know that you're, like anyone, wants to be doing better or maybe much better than you are. I bring it up because I usually go to Spotify when I find an artist or get introduced to an artist. It's easy for me to kind of hear what they sound like and see a little bit about them. And during the process, sometimes after I've even had this conversation, I notice, I guess it's followers or something, and the number that you have jumped out at me, so I started looking around at some other artists. But can you talk a little bit about what you have done or have you had much focus on it? If so, what have you done that's kind of helped you in that area, and what have you learned?
We have, maybe last summer, I was like, well, we need to get on this. And I read some article, I think it was on the CD Baby website, about how to get their attention, if that's even possible, but making playlists and sharing those, and
like making your own
playlist. I mean, you can go Google Spotify, how to get on Spotify playlists, and it's probably the first hit. I did those things and probably forgot about it a few weeks later. And then in September, out of the blue, we got added to an official playlist. I believe it was contemporary folk. Or no. Currents. It was folk currents, I think. And so that came out of the blue. We didn't hire a Spotify promoter for the album, I'm assuming.
And it was well after the
release. And it was like almost, what?
Yeah, we released it in January, and that was in September.
9 months after. So they must have caught wind of us. Probably through some of the showcases or something. Honestly, it's a
mystery.
It's an enigma how they found us. But since then, we've been added to a couple more. We got taken off that playlist at some point and then added to 2 more. It's an interesting, really, like when we were added, we'd make a social media shout out to Spotify thanking them. And we have a widget on the front of our website so they know that if they look at our website, which I would bet they would do, they know that we promote Spotify,
as a way to listen.
So I'm sure that helps. So they've added us to this grassroots playlist that's been the best one for us. And a couple weeks, they actually added us to Discover Weekly algorithmic playlists. And that was like a huge spike over that week from like 300 plays a day to 1,300, something like that. And it would taper off throughout the week.
And it's interesting because it's not the song they chose. It was interesting because we love the song that they chose. It's one of our favorites, and we still play out a lot. But it wasn't one that we pushed a lot, or doesn't feel like the main track from it or anything like that. So it was how they did that. I have no idea. I thought that was interesting.
They've only really liked, that one song, which
that's the one they put. Yeah,
like you're saying, is a surprise to us.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I find those Discover Weeklies fascinating as a listener, and I was also thinking to myself, I should try this for the podcast. I managed to get on Spotify, the Unstarving Musicians podcast, managed to get on pretty early when they opened the doors to podcasts. But yeah, that's kind of cool.
That's really cool. Was that random also?
Initially, it's kind of funny. So Libsyn is my host. I love them. They've really helped me with that and a lot more. But initially, I figured out that Spotify had this little hard-to-find kind of form online, a very simple one to submit your podcast, and they would review it and let you know if you were accepted. And I was accepted. But I don't know if it was at the same time or Libsyn was already doing it. Like now, if you're hosted by Libsyn, you just let them know that you want to include Spotify, and if the door's open and they approve you, you're in. And I know that they've reopened the doors at Spotify for taking in podcasts, and they've done some things to indicate that they're really, making a play on podcasts. And they're doing really well as far as the number of, when you look at what platforms people are listening to podcasts on, in a very short time, they've taken the number 2 spot.
That's cool.
Yeah, and they're far ahead of everyone behind them. And then, of course, it's a huge gap between them and iTunes, but it's interesting nonetheless.
Well, it's really convenient to listen to anything on Spotify.
Yeah, for you, and I guess, well, especially for music artists, I'm ready for them to just put a button on there to say that you want to support the artist and do it via PayPal or buy some merch right there.
Yeah, you can do merch, but yeah, we haven't for whatever reason.
They just need like a donate to this artist, sort of Patreon-like.
Right? Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, like, I like this song. Here's $5. And if a bunch of people do that, then
hopefully they're thinking about it. I know I'm absolutely not the first person to recommend that. In fact, I think I was talking about the general idea with Tom Meany and maybe during his episode during the recording, and he was the one who said they should just put a button on there to donate to the artist, because I would totally do it.
Yeah. It's interesting though we had at a show this past weekend, a very direct, not return, that sounds bad. That's not what I mean, but a new fan from Spotify. She discovered our music through Spotify and came to a show. It was such a cool experience. She's a really young girl. She just graduated from high school this year and just moved we were in Auburn, Alabama, and she just moved there for college, and she lived in a really rural town, like an hour away. And it was her first time seeing live music, which was insane to me. And she just enjoyed it so much and had just a wonderful time, just kept coming and thanking us. And it was an awesome experience for us to see that and to be able to be that for her, to be her first concert like that. So it was neat to hear that that's how she had found us, and that it led to that.
I do love that they're posting shows of artists on Spotify, and I assume that's sort of how she found out about it, but she may have just been following you, right? Because she fell in love with the music.
She had found us and then was looking for things to do, that I kind of looking up what was going on in the area and saw we were playing and was like, oh, those are the people I found. She knew she liked us, and so it came out.
Totally chance.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about Scars We Keep, and it looks like that's unreleased, but I saw a video. I've seen it a couple times now on Facebook. Can you tell me a little bit about the song and the video, the future of its release, and the meaning of the song?
Yeah, that video that you probably saw was recorded at one of those folk conferences that we went to. There's a guy named JB Nuttall who does video, and he kind of selects people before conferences that he's discovered and likes their music and wants to do these. He does these for free for the people he's selected, just a high quality kind of one take video like that. So he had reached out to us before the conference out in North Carolina, and so we decided to do that song. And yeah, it is not released yet. It was written after our last album was recorded, but very shortly after. So we've been playing it out for a good bit now, and it'll definitely be on our forthcoming album, which we are planning to record before the end of this year.
You're committed now.
Yeah. We went to a songwriting retreat in the Chenati Mountains, which are in West Texas.
Thank you. I was like, where the heck is that?
Yeah, it's basically almost Mexico. You can pretty much see Mexico from there. And it's a hot springs. There's this small songwriting retreat that we got involved with. And there's no cell service, no internet. You're just out there in the mountains and with other songwriters. And it's a magical time. It's very restorative and healing and all those things. And I started writing that song out there. I mean, every song, I guess, feels like, as a songwriter, I feel like a bit like a conduit for every song. You know, it's coming from somewhere. This one particularly felt like it was just, that was someone's story that needed to be told, and it chose me to tell it. And I take that responsibility seriously. And I don't know, it's just, I grew up in South Louisiana, and definitely saw my share of racism. Fortunately, my family is not that way, and I grew up with love and acceptance and of other people, but there was a lot of pockets of that where I grew up, and wanting to, I guess, express hope through that song, that it is possible for people to be bigger than their environment, that they grow up in an environment of hatred and fear. It is possible for people to grow beyond that and figure out what acceptance is. I guess that's where that comes from.
Well, it looked like a really cool story, and it's richer than I imagined with the whole songwriting retreat as part of it. Heavy topic. I was reminded, and the analogy gets used, but I was reminded of pack mentality here in Panama when we were living in a rural area. We lost an outdoor cat that actually wasn't even ours. We were renting from a homeowner, and he left his cats there, and dogs that were otherwise are probably just fine around cats got her one night. But anyway, yeah, I'm just thinking that we get this kind of ugly lack of acceptance when we're together in the wrong circles, I guess, sometimes, or we're together in the same circles too often. And
when you don't see anything else, when that's all you know, that's all you know. But I think at the heart of it, most people are good people, and there's something in there that can find its way out in most people, if they're strong enough to do it, to put it out there.
Yeah, I've always believed that we all want the same things. And I was listening to, I'm forgetting his first name. He's the creator of Humans of New York.
Oh, yeah.
I was listening to that too.
Pete just listened to that.
Yeah, what a great and touching interview. This one was with Tim Ferriss. I don't know if it's the same one.
Yep.
Okay.
Same
yeah, I'm remembering when he talked about all the places that he had traveled to, many of which, people were saying, oh, you don't want to go there. It's not safe, or it's this or that. And he has seen over the years he's been doing, he's like, this is a guy who's uniquely comfortable approaching strangers after all the work he's been doing and having conversations and connecting with them. But he is saying, people, his experience has been every one-on-one people are really nice, and they all do kind of want the same things. And yeah, it was a great story.
Yeah. What an inspiration that whole interview was.
Yeah, I hope it's okay. I'll have to put a link to Scars We Keep, or maybe we can embed it on the blog post for the
Sure, yeah,
of course,
for the episode. Well,
yeah.
Something else is I was trolling your Facebook pages and accounts. I saw one of you, and Crystal, it might have been on your Facebook profile, that you had posted a kind of a teaser to what the Ordinary Elephant newsletter might look like, or what it does look like. And I thought, what a clever idea. And so you put the link in there that your service provider gives you if you want to look at it in the browser.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really nice, by the way. And you had this area in there called OE Unedited on object writing. It looks like something that the two of you have been doing for a while. Can you talk a little bit about that? And for anyone who's maybe not familiar with what it is, explain it.
Yeah, it's something we got introduced to at a different songwriting retreat up in Maine, I guess maybe a year ago. It was last summer?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically like a 10-minute writing exercise where you kind of at the top of the page write the typical 5 senses that we know about, and then also 2 other senses, kinesthetic and organic, which are basically kinesthetic, how your body feels in space and balance, equilibrium, that kind of thing. There's that sense of your body in its environment. And then organic, kind of more your internal organs and things, like maybe how your stomach feels or how your lungs feel, are they filled with air or not, something like that. And choosing a random topic, which we tend to just look around every morning and like, okay, what do we write about today? And something outside or just whatever around the trailer, and just choose a random thing. It can be bird or cup, bowl, anything, and set a timer for 10 minutes. And you write about that in kind of a stream of consciousness sort of way. I mean, you're not trying to rhyme necessarily or do it just as it comes to you, but in a concentrating on those senses that you wrote at the top of the page. And so that's what we write them, so that we remember what we're supposed to be doing, what things you're supposed to be describing. So how something feels or smells or tastes, to get better at describing things. And it's been really helpful for us. Just learn, so many little metaphors just fall out of there that when you're not trying as hard, when you're sitting down working on a song and you're really putting a lot into it, sometimes you can overthink it. And doing this exercise, limited time, and the purpose of it is just to do it, as a practice. And so you don't feel as like, oh, this has to be great, because no one ever has to read it if you don't want them to. And it's helped us to get better at describing things and creating an image with words, basically, which is what we try to do in songs. And so it helps that practice. I mean, there's been we do it and then we read each other's. He reads his to me and I read mine to him. And then we circle on each other's page little lines that stuck out to us that we really liked from the other person. Like, oh, this line really I enjoyed and feel like that could turn into a song or be part of a song.
And that's a daily practice now?
Yeah. I mean, some mornings we don't do it if we're traveling and it's just there's not time, but we try to do that every morning. It's part of our routine.
That's pretty cool. How many retreats do you do in a given year, or do the two of you have target number that you want to be at every year?
I think we're both just like want to do them all.
Yeah, basically.
And it's really how many retreats don't we do?
Right. How many can we afford?
And we can't really do this as many as we have forever.
Yeah. The first one that we did, I guess, it was put on by Daryl Scott. And we did that in 15. Right? Yeah.
Oh,
15.
yeah.
That was the first one we did. And that was just kind of eye-opening. And it just feels like it changed the trajectory of my writing a whole lot. Just how to approach it and feel more comfortable with my voice and finding that writing voice. And that, I guess, kind of got us hooked on doing that, on trying to just glean as much as we can from other writers and their approach, and, gathering as much information as we can and applying it and seeing what works for us.
Yeah. In the past few years, it's been an investment period.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime we can get that close to writers that are that good, it's been worth the investment for us. And same thing for instruments. Even though we've done that less, we've gone to a couple instrumental camps that have with that same purpose in mind of getting instruction from really high level artists. So.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so it's more just when we hear about them, trying to.
we don't have a quota or anything.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be better if we didn't do any from a financial standpoint for sure. But I don't know. We've kind of like that one with the object writing that just sort of fell into our face a little bit. We were up in the Northeast and heard about it last minute from someone's post on Facebook, this kind of roundabout way. And we were like 2 hours from where it was or something really close. And we actually didn't have any gigs booked. Said, okay, well, we should probably take this opportunity to do it. Why not? Mm-hmm. And every time we do that, like, well, should we? Money, blah. We always end up being so thankful that we did because of what we get out of it. So we tend to do it whenever we can.
Are there other types of these things that you think about doing or have done that are outside of maybe songwriting or instrument camps? You do the folk festival conferences, obviously. And I've not asked a guest this before, but the songwriting camps sound really interesting. And it dawned on me, now that we're talking about those and how much you enjoy them, that you clearly have the invest in ourselves mentality. Are there some other things that you've had your sights on or that you've done that are kind of, I guess people might not expect?
I don't know.
Music-centric then, currently? Not
that I can think of. It's mostly that, the conferences and then the kind of business and creative side. The conferences are more business-oriented, networking and trying to
community.
Business and community are the conferences more so, and then the songwriting things are more for the creative side. Not that I can think of.
I've been on a Tim Ferriss kick, but I don't know if that fits in.
Yeah. Brandon Stanton, for anyone who's listening and was curious, that was the episode, and it was pretty amazing. Yeah, I enjoyed Tim Ferriss's podcast a lot and have for a long time. And I don't get to listen to them all these days, but that was one that I just happened upon. And one thing I've learned is it hardly matters who he's going to interview. There's generally very interesting people, but I was really touched by that. And it was, he certainly got into some vulnerable moments. His guest did, and that was pretty cool. Thank you again so much for making time to speak with me today. I know that people can find you at ordinaryelephant.net, and you appear to have all of your stuff connected very well there. You have a great story or social presence, love your Instagram stuff. And is there anything anywhere else that they should look that they wouldn't find there, and or anything that you want people to know about that you've got coming up or that you're thinking about?
I guess that's the main thing, the website. And like you brought up the newsletter. I mean, they're the old ones people can look at there to kind of see what they're about. We're realizing that that's the best way for us to stay in touch with people. Mm-hmm. So people who like our stuff, come to our shows, we try to really encourage them signing up for that. I know it always feels like, I don't want to give my email address to someone, or, everybody gets so much junk in their inbox. That's why we put those old ones there, so people can see what it is. We do it once a month, and it's more just kind of to keep track of what we're doing, tell you about our travels, and have the writing things in there, just to kind of get a glimpse of us in a way that you don't really otherwise.
Yeah.
And to hear about new album coming out, that's going to be the first place we send out things about it. So that's the best way for us to stay in touch and continue communicating with people beyond a show.
Yeah, and we've realized how powerful and valuable that is to us. So we do invest a lot in making sure that that's worthwhile to sign up for.
Right. Like we put out what we want to get. Like, so we've signed up for a bunch of musicians that we like. We sign up for their newsletters so we can get them all and figure out which ones do we open all the time. When we get it, we're definitely going to open. Which ones do we not as much, because what they have in there is not that great. Or, figuring out what we like to get in our inbox and trying to do the same, trying to provide that kind of thing for our folks.
Well, the one I checked out was really cool, and I would imagine that lots of people would find, myself included, find your lives very fascinating based on your nomadedness. Yeah, thanks for putting that archive there too. I hadn't noticed that. I recommend you move that opt-in form to sign up for the newsletter toward the top of the website, or let it pop up somewhere, because I think people would be interested in doing it.
That's some good advice.
Yeah. Well, thanks again. I will definitely stay in touch, and I know this is going to be a great episode. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for having us. Yeah. It was you're a great interviewer.
Yes, not all interviewers are created equal, we have learned. So we appreciate it when we have a good conversation with someone.
And I really appreciate that a lot. I have worked at it, and I think can always improve, of course, but I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me.
Over in the corner, like an old bar stool, he held me up right when I needed him to. He said, "Listen up, my friend, let me tell you what I know. You can wish you were someone else, then you gotta let it go. 'Cause that's a good way to get a bad start. I don't care what straw you drew, gotta let it make the best of you." We ain't playing a game, we ain't running a race. It's a way of life, boy, you just gotta find your place. Used to be like you, we'll sit here in the dark, watch him in the spotlight, pick myself apart. That's a good way to get a bad start. I don't care what straw you drew, gotta let it make the best of you. You don't need to bring down the house if you can bring them inside. When they bring down the lights, then the room went dark, I could barely see his face. Picked up his old Martin box, ready for the stage. He said, "Let me ask you this, what you gonna do? Will you pick yourself up or find a crack to fall through? 'Cause that's a good way to get a bad start. I don't care what straw you drew, gotta let it make the best of you. You don't need a good way, get a bad start. I don't care what straw you drew, gotta let it make the best of you."
Hey, thanks again for listening. The Unstarving Musicians podcast is edited for sound and content quality by Juan Perez. The intro-outro music is Alarm Clocks, written and performed by Redwood. That's me on drums. Visit unstarvingmusician.com/podcast to find more episodes like this one. And please consider supporting the podcast by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. This episode was powered by The Unstarving Musician's Guide to Getting Paid Gigs, How to Get Booked and Paid What You're Worth Over and Over Again, available on Amazon and Kobo.com. The book is also available as a standalone podcast called The Unstarving Musician's Guide Podcast. You can also learn more about the book and companion podcast at unstarvingmusician.com/book. I'd love it if you picked up a copy, and I'd love it even more if you left a review. With much gratitude, peace, love, and more cowbell.